All right, so we kind of did a quick once over of UV unwrapping using a few different projection options, but we were just using primitives, and now I want to focus on something that's a little bit more practical, and that is this coffee mug that has just a basic material and a pretty simple lighting setup applied. Importantly, it does have a camera, and knowing where the camera is going to help us know where to put our seams, because we want to try to hide the seams as best we can. Another important thing to note is that this mug is finished as far as modeling is concerned. I'm not going to be doing any more geometry tweaks to that, which means that I know when I do my UVs, I won't have to redo them if I add any geometry, because you do need to have the final model done before you can do your unwrapping. So, first thing that I want to do is, with the mug selected, I'm going to click this button right here to isolate it. So we only have, there it goes. We only have the mug in our scene, and all the other crap is out of the way. I'm also going to go to Edit, Delete by Type, and History, and that's just going to delete the construction history. It's speed up Maya and get rid of all the crap we don't need. So here's the mug. If I select the mug and turn on my checkerboard test grid, you can see that the default, it's still using the default cylindrical UVs, which is what I started with when I made this, but we don't want that anymore. So same sort of process. If you ever forget kind of the order to go in, you can just look in your UV toolkit and kind of go down the line. So we've got our create, so that's the projection stuff. Then we can cut and sew and modify the shells as we need to, unfold, and then align, snap, and then arrange with the layout. So generally how we're going to go, it's not necessarily always linear. Sometimes you cut, sew, unfold, and then cut and sew some more, or do more projection, but generally that can help with the workflow. So got my mug. I'm going to go to UVs and delete the current UVs. Great, cool. They're all gone. Now this is basically a cylindrical shape with a few adjustments, but more or less a cylinder. So I'm going to use my cylindrical projection. Okay, and same as when I did this with a regular cylinder, I'm going to grab this widget and drag it all the way back to so that it encompasses the whole thing. The exact way you go about this depends on what your use is. If you're trying to apply a texture to the whole thing, then you need to be a little bit cleaner than if, let's say, you just wanted to put like a logo on the front of it. But we're gonna try to unwrap the whole thing as best we can. So what I want to do is I want to separate the kind of the tops and the bottoms, and I'm going to separate the handle as well, and we'll deal with that at the end. So let's start with just the handle. I'm going to hit 1 on the number pad to go into the non-smooth preview, and I want to select, let me turn that off for a moment so we can focus on what we're selecting. I'm going to select the edges around where the mug connects. It's not really any easier to do in wireframe, but basically the connection edges where the mug or the cup meets the handle, if you will. Oops, not that one, that one. So grab all of these, and then once I have that, I'm just gonna hit, whoops, there we go. I'm just gonna hit cut. I'm going to go to wireframe real quick and just make sure that I don't have anything else selected I don't want selected. It looks like I'm good. Oh, wait. I do have one extra edge selected, so let's deselect that. Cool. Alright, so I've got all of those border edges selected. I'm going to click cut. And then I can go up to my UV shell. I'm going to select that shell. Okay, it looks like that. And I'm just going to unfold it. It's going to look weird. That'll need more work in the future. I'm just going to move that out of the way so we can focus on this part of the cup. So I want to separate the kind of the horizontal, the top and bottom surfaces. So I'm going to go to edge, and I'm going to double click on this seam right here. Okay, so this is kind of inside corner. I'm going to cut that. Yeah, we can do it that way. I'm going to undo that. I'm just actually going to select the faces and we'll do the planar projection like we did before. Go around and select all of these faces as well as that face loop. Okay. So I'll select that and then we can go to UV, planar projection, y-axis, and click project. And then I will just move that out of the way. Okay, so that's its own thing now. Same thing on the bottom. I'm going to select this a slightly different way just to show some variation. I'm going to select that face loop. Okay, so this one, kind of the second one out, if you can see that. And then if you hit Command right click, you can grow the selection. And I'm going to do that a couple times until we select all of this. I think that'll be a good spot. And I'm going to do the same planar projection. So UV, planar projection. It saved my Y direction, so we're good there. I'll just move that out of the way as well. Our progress. I'll turn on my grid again, and we can see that the bottom and the underside of the mug are good. The handle is terrible, but we'll come back to that. So now I want to separate the inside to the outside surface, which means I'm going to need to add one more edge loop, and we will add that. We can kind of, I think we'll grab this top edge right here. Let's see, I think that'll work. So I'm going to double click on that edge and I'm going to cut that. And then let's grab these shells and unfold them and see what happens. That's actually looking pretty good. Relatively square, not quite straight, but they are square. I'm also want to look at where my seams are. So if I'm going to be seeing the mug from this perspective, which is roughly where the camera is, I can see this seam and I don't want the seam there. So I need to move that seam. So I'm going to look at this side. I'm not going to be able to see this side from the camera. So I'm going to select, I'll turn off the checkerboard so we can see this a little bit clearer. If I select like this edge, that little edge there, and that edge, and I think we need to go up one more. I can cut those edges, and then I can select these edges and sew these together. On this side, whoops, not that one. Stitch together. Okay, you can see how that modifies it. I can grab that shell, unfold it again. Okay, so now that seam is hidden. I can't see it. It's just this front section that we want to straighten out. So let's hit straighten UVs in the cut and sew section. See how that looks. And not quite. Let's unfold that one more time. We're getting some distortion here. And it's because we have this taper on the mug. So I think what we're going to do is this rim is going to be kind of sharp anyway. So I'm going to select, and this is going to be, I know, tough to see a little bit. If we zoom in here, I'm going to select this edge loop and this edge loop. Oops. There we go. And we're going to cut those, and I'll sew this middle edge loop together. I'll stitch that together. Okay, so I just changed from having a seam right in the middle of the rim to on each edge. And then we can select each of those shells, unfold them again, and that's going to look a little bit better. That out, that's looking a little bit better. We can turn on, oops, our checkerboard and kind of see where we're at. We're looking okay. I can grab this main front shell, Let's unfold that again. And let's try to straighten the UVs again and see how that does. That's still not quite there. Let's maybe rotate it, see if we can help it along. That's better. Okay. So I had to kind of rotate it to get it close, and then that's looking a lot better. All right. So the last thing we need to worry about is this handle, and I need to find a good place for the seam. So again, I want it to be hidden. I don't want the camera to see the seam. So I'm going to go along the back side here, and let's try this edge here. Just double click on that edge. It's going to go all the way along. We'll cut that. And well, let's unfold that and just see what that did. Okay. That's okay, but not great. So I think we're going to need to add just a couple more cuts to help it lay a little bit flatter. So I'm going to grab, let's see, where do I want to do this? I'm going to grab like these three edges here. All right, and these three edges. Oops, there we go. Let's make sure I have just what I want selected. Oops. I think I have an extra thing. Nope, that's good. Let's go to wireframe, make sure I don't have anything else selected I don't want. Seems like I might, but maybe we're okay. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut that as well. Just kind of a little relief cut. Grab that shell and unfold it one more time. And that's okay. If we rotate this, I'll hit smooth a little bit. So we're getting distortion where it meets up with the mug. Now I'm not planning on having any particular texture here, so I think what I'm gonna do is just grab these edges, just 2 in on each corner, and we'll cut those, and that should help with the distortion. And cut, and then again, let's unfold that. We can rotate this. That's still not really great. Let's see. Is there anywhere else we can add some edges? Let's try this. I'm going to grab, oops, not that, that. I'm going to grab these edges, kind of like that. Just those 2 and then these 2. Well, we can just kind of play around with this, go back and forth, see what works best. We can cut and stitch to no end until we get something that's feeling a little bit better. I suspect that is going to be a bit better. Yeah, there's definitely less distortion there. It still needs some love, but okay, we'll go with that for now. So once we have all of the UVs separated and it's looking okay, except for what's going on there. This section is not a good thing. Let's unfold that one more time. I think this taper at the bottom is causing some issues with it laying flat, so I'm just gonna add a couple of relief edges on the backside where the camera's not gonna see it. We'll go like there and there. Cut that. And unfold that one more time. Okay, and let's straighten the UVs. That didn't go well. Let's try that. It's better. Okay, we'll go with that. So the last thing that we need to do then is make sure that the texel density is the same. So I'm going to select just one. We'll go up to the transform section, get our texel density, and then I'm going to select the other shells and set the texel density. So now we have same size squares all over the place. Last thing we need to do is lay it out. Whoops, select everything and lay it out. And there is our mug. That backside is not great. It's going to need a little bit more work. If I open up my other one here, see a better looking UV unwrap. Okay. Same sort of unwrap. For whatever reason, I've still got a little bit of distortion there, but this main section worked out a little bit better. But I have the same UV placement, you can see. And again, this is why you want to hide your seams, because sometimes you will get this kind of pinching at the seams. So if it's in a place where the camera's not going to see it, then we're fine. And just kind of proof of concept, if I real quickly add a new material, let's give it a basic standard surface there. I'm going to delete the history on this, and we're just going to give it a simple texture. We can go with like, let's see, what do we got? Actually, I'll just do a file texture and I'll load one up real quick. Let's go with a basic brick texture. Okay. And now we can kind of see where, if we're getting any distortion. I've got a glossy shader set up, so this is probably not the best option for color. But you can see where the seams are hidden and where it works, and then you can see where the seams are not very well hidden, and you get that pinching. So that's what you'll be kind of fighting against, but that's the workflow. Again, knowing where your camera is going to be is very important for hiding. So you see, from this perspective, it looks fine. So just keep that in mind.